Now, let's return to the business situation. You're talking about the high street and how we can change them and make them fit for purpose in the future.
Well, yes, it's quite interesting because in many ways, one of the big changes happening is everything's moving on to online. That's not, everybody says that. It's not quite, when you look at the numbers, it's not quite as big as you imagine. It's something like 18%, and that is including the online departments of existing stores and also pure online plays. They make up for 18% of all sales. Now that's, you know, if you were to ask ordinary people how much is online, people would say more like sort of 25, 30, 40%. And it's not quite as much as that. So that's not quite as dramatic, but there's also just a general slowdown. There is a change away from the way that people shop. So they don't go to as many shops nowadays. When they go out shopping, they might go to 2 or 3 shops. They don't go to sort of 10 shops in the way that they used to, because perhaps they've checked online beforehand, then they've got an idea of where they're going to go. They'll only go to 1 or 2 shops, and so they'll probably end up buying less actually in the shop, or maybe they'll just buy one big thing. Jace Tyrrell is Chief Executive of New West End Company and joins us now. He represents West End shops as a kind of trade representative for those shops. Jace, tell us about what's been happening on the high street recently in terms of your members, as the members of West End Company.
I think it's been quite a challenging Christmas, has been reported. I think we have seen quite a good bump in the last week, actually, with more shoppers coming in and spending. But to your comments earlier, it's fundamentally changing the high street. Customers are going online, they are spending less. We've actually seen less footfall but higher spending, which is quite an interesting trend for us. But this idea of online, in-store, experiential, lots of buzzwords we hear about in retail, that's all playing out here in the West End, and we're seeing it this Christmas as well.
So, I mean, are you optimistic about this Christmas, or is this back to the wall type time?
This is probably the most challenging in 10 years for us. So it's a Christmas crunch. We've certainly seen a dip in spend. It's not as bad as 708 when we had Lehman's, but certainly it's nowhere near our best levels. I think obviously Brexit is affecting consumer confidence and the value of the pound. So all this is playing out. But actually those are coming in, our spending, and there's a lot of good discounts and promotions for those shoppers that are coming into town.
OK, we're talking about redesigning the whole high street. You tell me, in 10 years' time, I walk down my high street. What do you think I'm going to see? What kind of experience will it be, do you reckon?
Well, I think we think there's probably about 20–25% too much retail in the West End and Mayfair, and I think earlier you were saying the country is over-retailed, and we really see that playing out.
What's going to be there instead of those shops?
Interesting, yeah, VHS shop closed on Oxford Street. It's full of crazy golf and a food hall. So I think, yeah, experiential, sports stores, lifestyle. We've got yoga classes happening on Regent Street. All of this is about customer experience, and you're seeing that here in the West End, which I think will happen up and down the country on the high streets as well.
So you don't think it's going to be, I mean, a lot of people think, well, you know, we're just going to see tumbleweed blowing down the high streets and empty shops. You don't think it's going to be quite like that?
I think retailers are absolutely going to have to rationalise their portfolios. They're going to have to go for the most profitable stores. So I think for the big cities around the UK, for the centre of London, you're going to see significant investment to make them even bigger and better. What you're going to see on those secondary high streets in smaller towns is a lot of closures, and that's where government planning policy, looking at the business rates, all these levers, and changing what these centres become in the future is fundamental, and time is running out.
Yeah, when you say the levers, can you just expand on that a little bit? The kind of things which governments, local authorities have to do in order to make the most of the opportunities which a declining retail sector on the high street presents.
And one of those biggest opportunities is the planning policy. I mean, very technical for a second, you know, at the moment you can only have retail or restaurants. Surely now restaurants and retail and all that comes together. So just freeing up that flexibility, getting more evening economy into these high streets as well, that's going to be key if they're going to survive.
That's really interesting. Thank you very much indeed. Could look very different, actually, in a few years' time. But you could have people living more in high streets. Yeah. You could have businesses, you know, industries. I mean, light industries or something in high street. You could have, as you say, crazy golf or whatever. You could have some entertainment in high street. It depends whether people make the most of those opportunities.
It could be very exciting, couldn't it?
Could be. Right. I think the most exciting thing here is actually oil. I think the fall in the oil price, which a lot of people will be welcoming, but it's a lot to do with oversupply, because as the price went up, all the oil producers jumped on board, but also in the background there's just this worry about global growth, about the fact of whether the world needs quite so much oil at the moment, and the fact that the price is going down means there's too much of it around.
Yes, China's not growing like it was, is it?
None of us are growing quite the way we like to.
No. Okay. Jamie, thank you very much.